What's going on? We're going live, answering some start sit questions as we do most Sunday mornings. Not all, because I'm not always here on Sunday mornings. But here we are. If you got any start sit questions, just drop them. I'm just hanging out, answering chats. Not really like a show format, but more like a format where I'm just answering your questions, hanging out with you guys. And sometimes you guys drop news to me, and that's that. But right now, just looking at the rankings, going through my teams, making sure everything's okay. But everything's looking good on a Sunday morning. And we got a big week 3 right now. A lot's going on, with especially Isaiah Pacheco out. We're watching the Chiefs' backfield right now. We got Carson, Steele, Samaje, Perine, Kareem Hunt, watching from afar from the practice squad. All baking into that situation. Everybody's interested in that. We got some fun matchups here today, too. We got Bears and Colts. Can Caleb Williams come back? Can Caleb Williams get it done this week? Can he score more than 7 fantasy points? He's been scoring 7 and a little change every single week. We got him versus the Colts. Can Anthony Richardson spread the ball around? What's going to happen this week with that? Make sure to drop your start sit questions below, whatever you got. I'll answer them as fast as possible, but usually I'm pretty detailed with it. I try to be detailed. I look at the rankings and everything. Last week, I did stream like straight through YouTube, and my camera froze, and I wasn't able to fix it. So I'm playing with StreamYard this week, just so if anything happens, I can deal with it. But the week prior, I had issues with StreamYard, so I'm messing with that. We also got Broncos and Tampa Bay. The question with that is the offense with Denver and Bo Nix. Can Bo Nix move the football? Can we get 200 passing yards this week? And is he going to do better throughout the game instead of just the 2-minute drill? But the 2-minute drill, it just plays in the where he likes to play at. Short underneath, round the line of scrimmage, throwing the ball, those check down areas. So, honestly, can Bo Nix step it up? It's against Tampa Bay. We got 40.5 over-under for that game right now per DraftKings Sportsbook. Probably going to be a fun one with Tampa Bay. Full upside, Chris Olave, DK Metcalf. So I'm taking this one as a gamble play, MH. As a gamble play, as in we're shooting for the moon here. We're shooting for the tip top here because something happened on Thursday or something happened with our lineup due to injuries or whatever, and we got to shoot for more upside. So we rather shoot for the upside here, from what I'm gathering, than just shoot for the safe play. Let me just look at the matchups a little bit more here. Seahawks and Miami, 42 over under might be a slower paced game. And then you got Olave versus Dallas. Which that game, 49 over under. No, Saints versus Eagles. Olave. I'd shoot for the upside Olave in that matchup. 49 over under versus Philly. Philly's been a pass funnel defense. And I'll show it to you because I'm set up to really do that right now. And unless my mouse doesn't work. So here we go. And so right here with Philly, I can get these numbers to show. Right here, number 2 with fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. And that was in 2023. 2024, though, we're still up there. It's just that trend. It's still rolling. I think I'd shoot for that upside in that matchup. That's what I'd be looking at, and that's what I'd look at for that matchup, especially with a 49 over under with the Saints, and Saints are scoring points. Ford versus Romo Dunze. So that's a damn good question because you do not know what's going to go on with Deontay Foreman and company and how much they're going to look to move the ball with Ford. And this is against – do I have the right game here? Hold up. There we go. This is against the Giants team that has been in weird game scripts, and the Browns have been in weird game scripts due to Deshaun Watson. But you also got the Bears with Caleb Williams. But Rum's running a lot of routes. We got Keenan Allen out of this game, so he's going to be on the field running a lot of routes. Jerome Ford's a safe play because you know he's going to get carries. That could lead to goal line touches, especially if Danny Dimes doesn't hit. I think if I'm looking at my lineup and I'm feeling good about it, I'm feeling good at my running backs and wide receivers. It's like a flex spot scenario where I got that if scenario with. If I'm feeling good about everything else, then I'm going with Ford. If I'm playing against somebody who hit really good on Thursday and I'm worried about my RB2 or my wide receiver 2 or whatever, I'm going to shoot for the upside with Rome Odunze. And the reason why is because we're splitting heels here, and I know that Rome Odunze is going to run a lot of routes in this game. I know there's going to be opportunity, and eventually that's going to do something somewhere down the line. But also, it's Caleb Williams back there, and just things have been dicey week to week. It's also against the Colts. The game script could be a little slower, but also Browns, the Giants, that should be a slow game script as well. But the Browns could end up on the Giants considering they got a lockdown defense against Danny Dimes and company, which means they could be up, handing it off to Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford in that scenario is a lot safer if you're wanting guaranteed fantasy points or guaranteed touches. Guaranteed touches because what's guaranteed with Rome is he's guaranteed to you got Stevenson on your roster who scored 0.3. If you're shooting for straight upside, sometimes that one miss, though, most time, statistically, that one miss on your lineup doesn't really affect you too much. If you have multiple, it does. I think I'd handle it with the same analysis, especially if I'm looking up top. Ford for the safety net with those touches because he's guaranteed to get some workload. Rome for more upside. And if you're looking at the rest of your team and you want that upside, go with Rome. But there's a significant downside with that. Ford's got that downside too due to him sharing with the Deonta Foreman. But on top of that, he's going to get some workload to the point where he can score you something. That's a very good question. Let me look at their matchups real quick. So Chargers, make sure I got that right. Chargers and Pittsburgh, 38 over under. And then you got the Rams versus Niners, right? And they got a 44.5 over under. The thing about Kyron last year is he had that game last year where he went off against Niners, but the Rams are not as decimated at wide receiver, so they can really key on him now. I look for Kyron to get a lot of workload because that's just what the 49ers do. And they're going to shut him down, and that's what the Rams do. They just like to overwork Kyron Williams. And we're over here looking at what the Niners are doing in this run game here. And let me see here. If I can get this mouse to work. Sometimes this mouse just doesn't work. So we're looking at what the Niners are doing here. They allowed 15 points to Breece Hall. They've allowed 8.2 to Ty Chandler and 6.8 to Aaron Jones last week. And then we go up to 2023 because you kind of got to throw that in. And Kyron Williams, if you look at that right there, he had a game where he caught 6 balls, 48 yards, 52 rushing yards, and then that's it because he was hurt the last time they played him, right? So he did have right there. So he was fantasy productive with 22 fantasy points, but a lot of that was in the receiving game. Look for him to be used a little bit more in the passing game. Look for him to get some work in the passing game. If I remember right, Cooper Kupp was out during this time. This is when Puka was going off. And I believe Niners focused in on that. I look for him to get a little bit more work in the passing game, some extra targets, some workload. But we're also looking at J.K. Dobbins. He's in a slow game script, and both of them are not in good matchups. I feel a little safer with Kyron Williams. And then looking at what 4 for 4 has to say here, I'm just showing you guys everything today. So we got Kyron, RB 13 in the rankings, and they got J.K. Dobbins down here at 21. So they're agreeing with my initial assumption. But the thing about this matchup, I feel like Kyron's going to get a few more checkdowns, and he's going to get extra workload due to what's going on with the wide receivers. With J.K. Dobbins, we're going to have a very slow game script on the road at Pittsburgh. That might impact him, and plus we got that defense with Pittsburgh. So both of them are – it says right here it's a good matchup. I don't think it's that great. From what we saw in the numbers, they just allowed 15 points to Breece Hall. It's just – I think I'd roll Kyron Williams in the workload there. What are we looking at? Deonta Foreman, Tajay Spears, Wan'Dale Robinson, or Jalen McMillan? You have to pick one. Oh, whoa, that's not really. I assume it's a deeper league. You got to pick one of those guys. So I would look at the matchups here for you. So we're looking at Browns and Giants. The thing is, the Browns could sneakily get ahead of the Giants with their defense. You just got to hope Deshaun Watson doesn't do what he did like in week 1 and just go off. And now you're looking at the Titans. And they got the Packers, even lower over under on that one, which could be a very slow-paced game. You got to hope for Malik Willis to have a bad outing. You got to hope for him to have a bad outing, which could be possible. You got Wan'Dale Robinson for targets there in a weird matchup where that could potentially happen. It's a low game script. It's a gamble either way. You're flipping coins here. You also got Tampa Bay. They go by team name. Against Denver, another bad game script for him. So we're just really gambling on game scripts to break for some of these players to go our way. And you're gambling for a touchdown for Foreman and Tajay Spears. So really, the running back touches is what we're looking at here. Deontay Foreman was in early last week, and he got a lot of touches in the back half of the game as well. Tajay Spears is in a matchup where if Malik Willis doesn't do well, then the Titans are going to be up, and they're going to use their running backs. You got Wan'Dale Robinson in a rough matchup, Jalen McMillan in a rough matchup. It's all a coin flip. If I had to pick one, if I want to be safe, I'd go Deontay Foreman and go for the touchdown, but I'm leaning like Malik Willis just not doing well in the game and going Tajay Spears. So Tajay Spears more for upside. I think Deontay Foreman might be the safer play. Pick one for the flex by Tyler Sperry, and it's Ford, Foreman, Romadunze. Can I show it? There. Romadunze and Jalen Naylor. Ford, Foreman, Romadunze, or Jalen Naylor. I feel safer with one of the running backs. And then I'm shooting for upside with Naylor. And let's see what 4-for-4 really says about this Cleveland backfield and how they got it ranked here. So just type in Ford, Jerome Ford, and Foreman. So they're neck and neck. They really are just splitting hairs. They got Ford ahead of Foreman, you see there. And my gut goes with Ford ahead of Foreman as well. But I think it's really, in actuality, a coin flip between the two. And honestly, what we're hoping for is this game script where the Browns defense just decimates Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes has a bad game. They get ahead. They run it with these running backs. And that situation, when we're thinking about that game script with a low over under, a low scoring game, it's probably going to be ugly. One of them is probably going to get the touchdown. You don't know which. And my gut leans Ford, but I would go with what's your gut on that one. But I'd go with the Cleveland backfield, either one you want to roll with. Next one, Akers, Najee, Eckler, and the flex. These are PPR rankings. So let's see what they got. Eckler, where you at, dude? Eckler. Austin. RB31 against Cincy. I think that's a great matchup for him. Where's Najee at? 28 against the Chargers. And then you got Akers, 24. What I like about Cam Akers is I feel like he's going to get a lot of touches, and I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities. I think Dare's going to steal some of the workload out of the passing game. Now, that feels a lot risky, which it is because it's Cam Akers. I think the safe, sound decision for this matchup, the safe is just follow the touches at running back, which is Akers. I feel like he's going to at least get you a good opportunity share. I think if it's PPR, I think Eckler against the Bengals would be a sneaky option. I think if I'm just trying to chase workload, I'm chasing Akers. If I'm shooting for a little bit more upside, Eckler if it's PPR. Eckler if it's PPR, because we could see this Washington Bengals game be kind of weird. We can also see the Bengals get up on Washington, especially they're at home. And we got Jane Daniels on the road. But, yeah, if I'm trying to play it safe, like say if my lineup's really good and I'm looking at running back being solid, wide receiver being solid, and I just got this one spot, I'll probably go Akers and just chase the touches. However, if I'm playing against someone who did well on Thursday, if I'm feeling iffy at quarterback or one of my wide receiver spots, one of my running back spots, I'm probably going to play the upside game with Austin Eckler up here because of this matchup here and his role in the passing game. Let's see here. Next one, Jonathan Mirando. And sorry if I said it wrong. I suck at talking. Need a flex pick. Kyren Williams, Zach Charbonnet. Let's look at Seattle real quick here. We got a Seahawks-Lions game coming up. There it is. Seahawks and Dolphins. Seahawks and Dolphins. So showing this one to you guys here. When I'm looking at Seahawks and Dolphins here, we're looking at that quarterback play for the Dolphins. We got a 42 over-under. So they're saying it's going to be a low-scoring game because it's pretty much I'm not trying to make a bet. I don't have an account really. But 42 over-under. But can this defense just stop and stifle this Dolphins offense? I look for them to run the ball a lot with HN. I look for them to drain a lot of clock. I look for Seattle to get up on the Dolphins. And if they're going to be up on the Dolphins, they're going to use Charbonnet. Charbonnet should be pretty cheap, pretty safe, not cheap, but safe. And then you're looking at this matchup here against the Niners. I look for Kyren Williams to get a little bit more work in the passing game and more work overall. That could lead to more fantasy production, but they can really key in and focus on them. They don't have to deal with Puka or Cooper Kupp here. They do have a good crew of wide receivers when they're all baked together. And 4 for 4 up here, what are they saying? Because I'm leaning Charbonnet. I think Charbonnet has the potential. It has a red dot as like one of the worst matchups, but that kind of throws things out the window if the quarterback play goes off. Charbonnet ahead of Kyren, right next to each other. And I was leading Charbonnet with my gut. I think they are very close together because they're both going to get a lot of workload and touches. And I think that both the matchups can be strange for both players. Kyren Williams is going to get a lot of workload, and the Niners are going to key in on that, but he's going to get a lot of targets out of the backfield. Charbonnet might be in a position where he's up on the Dolphins, and that's probably going to give him opportunities later in the game. So my gut rolls Charbonnet. All in all, it is truly a coin flip situation. Let me pull that up because there it is. They're right there, right next to each other. That being said, go with your gut, flip a coin. My gut says Zach Charbonnet, and I kind of saw that right when I looked at the names and kind of processed it through. Going to our next question here. MH, what's going on, buddy? Say, James Conner or James Cook upside because of Stevenson goose egg. All right, let's pull up the lines here again because I should have them memorized. I look at them all day, but I don't. They changed too. You got the Cardinals versus Lions matchup, which has a 51 over-under. You also got that Jacksonville game, which Buffalo comes out wanting to run. That's the thing about they want to run. Buffalo does not have a wide receiver, a pass catcher yet with 10 targets in 2 games. They do not have a pass catcher with 10 targets. Most is Shakir with 8. Shakir's got 8 targets. So they're really leaning very heavily on the run game. I think the thing about that is that Jacksonville defense. Let's see how they are to running backs here lately. Let's see, Jack. So the thing about it, their sample's kind of weird because they got Devin Hn in there scoring 16, but against Cleveland, they were kind of slow on Jerome Ford. They didn't let Jeff Wilson or Mostert really do much. They allowed Hn to stay out there, but also Hn getting most of his work in the passing game, only 24 rushing yards, 64 rushing yards to Ford, 42 to Deonta Foreman. So you're looking at that for James Cook. So you're really hoping he catches checkdowns. But when you're looking at James Conner, which I'm gonna go here, you're looking at a 51 over under right here against the Detroit Lions. So you got a matchup here that could break open, that could present some more upside, because that 51 over under, Vegas wants to be close to that number with their betting, or everyone's just going to bet the one side. So that gives you an implied point total for the game. So pretty much for fantasy, you look at that and say, hey, it's going to be higher scoring. You don't look at the total and be like trying to predict the total. You're just going to say, okay, 51.5 over under. It's going to be higher scoring. Therefore, there's a better chance that fantasy points are going to be scored. So when you look at it that way, I think James Conner's got more upside due to that. And Detroit and their matchups, looking here, Kyron Williams, they slowed him down. But again, they're in weird game scripts. Tampa Bay, they lost that game 20-16, 26-20. Remember that Rams game? They were throwing it. It's going to be a shootout in the passing game. I think Connor is going to be okay for an upside play. And again, we're shooting for more upside. Next, need one wide receiver at flex between Waddle, Worthy, Javonte Williams, and Michael Pittman, and a flex. All right, just thinking this through, Waddle and Michael Pittman kind of like cross each other out as like those safer plays in weird situations. Michael Pittman right now is seeing a 30% target share. He's seeing targets every single game. He also doesn't have like a Tyreek Hill to compete with, but he also has like Josh Downs coming back. Pierce is going strong, but he's still leading in target share with all that competition. So Pittman, if you want that safe play, Worthy if you want that upside at wide receiver, and a flex Javonte versus Worthy. I really want to look at the matchup here for the Broncos again, because who we got? Tampa Bay. Yeah, we got Tampa Bay, right? Tampa Bay, we got a low over under because Denver's always going to have low over unders. But Tampa Bay has allowed 14 points to Brian Robinson, 13 to David Montgomery, and 10.6 to Javonte Williams. So I would look at it this way when I'm looking at this. If you're trying to play it safe, say my lineup's good, I'm not going up against anybody who went off on Thursday, I didn't start Ramondre Stevenson or anything like that, then I would play it safe between probably like a Michael Pittman and a Javonte Williams. If not, I'd probably go like Worthy Williams. That's what I would do. So if you want something concrete here, Michael Pittman, Javonte Williams, because Javonte Williams is going to get the touches. Michael Pittman should push a 20% target share. If you need the upside, I would throw Worthy into either spot. Either spot, because between those two, it's kind of a coin flip situation because the Broncos are the Broncos and Anthony Richardson is Anthony Richardson. Thank you, Mike, for the question. Next is J.K. Dobbins or Demarcus Robinson at flex. I'm leaning J.K. Dobbins off the rip, but I'll check the super flex ranks here at the flex ranks right there, and then I'm leaning J.K. DeMarcus is at 81 on the rankings, and then who is it? Dobbins at 39. And the reason why, and I know their methodology on this is 4 for 4, not my rankings or anything, but I use them to check me, is because the touches J.K. Dobbins is getting, it's guaranteed, and he gets work in the passing game. He's been explosive. He's a little bit safer. And also DeMarcus Robinson's matchup against the Niners. So that's what I would do if I was setting my lineup for a flex spot. Thank you, Lions fan, for the question there. Going on to our next one, looking at Riverside. Would you trade Nico for Ayuk and Worthy? Would I trade him? Thinking about that really hard. Nico Collins. I'm going to look at more of him. What I'm thinking redraft too, so I'm getting out of my dynasty brain there. In dynasty, yeah, but redraft's a little different beast. The thing about the Chiefs is now they're hurting at running back. When Pacheco's out, they throw it about That's only a 2-game sample. During that 2-game sample on average, they threw it 5 more times a game, which could be more game script dependent. Didn't really deep dive the matchups, but it was there on a macro perspective on that 2-game sample. But Nico Collins was going to finish as one of the top wide receivers in the league this year. Last year, he gave you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receiver 1 weeks. He's already got you 2. He's already got you 1. And then, week 1, he has a wide receiver 2 week. If you need depth at wide receiver, because we're looking at Ayuk, he started the year off slow, so you're kind of buying him on the low here, but things are just going to go back to where it is unless he gets hurt, because that's just how the conservation of targets work. So usually he's pretty steady right here with his production from a fantasy football perspective, but he will give you some low games. Same with Nico, but he gets you last year, and his value rise because of it. He got 4 wide receiver 1 weeks. You should expect Ayuk's production to go up more like 11 to 10 points per game with some upside games that will make it up to around 13 to 14 range. I think Ayuk, you're buying on the low, and I think Worthy's got more upside to hit, and he's always a guy to play with your matchups. I think both sides are going to win this. I think the gamble is more on the Ayuk side if he can get it back together, but with Debo out and him getting targets, he should. I mean, if you're chasing straight up target share for target share, just getting Xavier Worthy as the kicker in the upside play for your flex decisions is a good one to make, especially for redraft. Next one up looks like it's going to be, we'll call him Mr. Perfect. Here, Higgins, Waddle, Shakur in flex, and Andrews or Pitts at TE. Higgins, Waddle, Shakur. I feel like Higgins, and then tight end. Tight end's going to tight end. And what I mean by that, it's a rando position group. So I'm just going to show you the ranks on that. But I'm leaning Mark Andrews off the rip. And they are very tight off that, but they got Andrews ahead right there. They got Andrews ahead of Pitts by just 1 spot. Very similar projections. It is a coin flip scenario. And Kansas City, much like Dallas, though, but Dallas is Dallas, and they'll just break. But Kansas City, high over-unders, but they're always locked down on the key positions in the passing game. Pitts is one of those, which could happen. And tight end's going to tight end, which means it's very random. So really, if I'm going to play this, you can play it 2 ways. You can chase the over-under with the Atlanta-Kansas City game. The over-under is kind of high for the Baltimore-Dallas game. I think I feel a little safer with Mark Andrews. When I'm looking at Higgins, Waddle, or Shakur, 100% I believe Higgins is good to go. I'm not worried about his health because he ain't going out there with this contract situation and everything with the hamstring issue. He's wide receiver 28. Good matchup against Washington. He was looking good in training camp. Really looking good with Burrow and company. And then Waddle, they got at 33, which makes sense with the quarterback situation. Shakir is an upside gamble, which they have ahead of Waddle. Shakir's an upside gamble due to the targets and air yards in Buffalo. I think fundamentally I'd go Higgins due to him just being the better player overall. I think if they say he's healthy. He's going to be running those deep shots. I think he's good for about 17 to 20% target share in this matchup. I think Shakir is going to be very spiky this year, which is very good for fantasy, especially where we drafted him at. I like Shakir a lot for what he is. I think Higgins, if I had to place a guy in my lineup between the 3, I think it would be him. I think that's what I would roll with. Next is Jaden Reed or DJ Moore flex. Let's pull this up real quick. I just want to look something up with DJ Moore real quick. I'm going to use this app because I don't want to just talk off the side of my brain. So these are the PPR scoring. I don't want to look at that. I want to look at targets. What's this volume looking like? There we go. We're going to switch. Come on, internet. I'm going to switch out this thing. There, see if that works a little better. Info stats. I want to look at the targets real quick. My internet's still working. This thing's being dumb. All right, let's get sleeper. DJ Moore right there. Just want to look at the flow targets. So 8 targets, 10 targets. That's what I'm looking at. So if you're looking at the 8 targets and 10 targets here, that might be half the passing attempts for Malik Willis in this matchup. That's the question with that. And Keenan Allen's out. Due to that volume, that's what I would roll with. I would roll with DJ Moore and just hope the targets stick. That's what I would do. That's what I would do in that situation. I would chase the 10 and 8 targets. Like, the fantasy points are always nice. That's what you really want. But I always chase the workload because the workload is going to tell you if you're capable of scoring those fantasy points and give you better odds. The workload is very good with DJ Moore. Workload's very good with DJ Moore. He's running a lot of routes. He's out there. Jaden Reed had a good week 1, but the quarterback play is very questionable. It's the same with DJ Moore, but we also know that he can rack up 18 targets in 2 games. The next one is 49ers or Raiders defense. I'm not in many leagues with defenses in them. I'm in a lot of IDP leagues. I'm not great at IDP. I kind of punt it. So 49ers, because that's against the Rams. They're hurting at wide receiver. We got the Raiders against Carolina. So they got Raiders ranked here at 6. Scroll that up. And then we got the 49ers down there a bit right here. So if you go off their rankings, and I'm thinking about the lines on this one, I've been expecting the Raiders to get up pretty big on Carolina. And I've been thinking this could be the game where Zamir White's actually kind of valuable in fantasy. What the hell? Kind of valuable in fantasy football. So I would roll with the Raiders, but if your gut's going the other way, go with it. Flip a coin because the Rams are dealing with those issues at wide receivers. Thank you, Rivers. Thank you guys for watching. Next, Likely, Spears, Dubs, Pierce at second flex. Likely, Spears, Dubs, Pierce. Two ways to look at this because we're betting on the game script here, the Cowboys game script for the Ravens, and then we also got Malik Willis versus the Titans. If Malik Willis busts this week, then Titans going to be up and they're going to run the ball. And that could lead to more opportunities for Spears. However, if it's just a slow game, both quarterbacks mess up, then that might be dicey. Likely, on the other hand, what we saw with the Ravens and Chiefs game is when the defense is tight against them, they're going to try to get the ball out quick. And that was more of a likely Justice Hill experience. It's going to be a coin flip with those two. Pierce is always going to be a coin flip. He's had 2 games where he just straight up hit. And we got Josh Downs back. And he's going to soak up some targets. There's no way he doesn't get any targets unless they're just trying to just play with him out there and let him get a little run and take him back out and put him back in. I think your safest option is Likely. I don't think any of these are safe options. I'm not really in love with Dubs. I think he's a straight-up gamble. You do not know if it's going to be a Wicks game, Reed game, because only one of these wide receivers can get anything out of this due to this matchup. I think Likely's the safest. I think Spears for the upside. Well, Pierce always for the upside every week. He is the straight-up upside gamble. He is the straight-up. I think Likely's the safe guy. Likely's the safe bet. If you're really hurting from Thursday, either way, if your opponent started someone that went off from Thursday, if you started Ramondre Stevenson, then I would probably throw in Alec Pierce. If that did not happen and the rest of my lineup's good, I'm going Isaiah Likely, and I'm just going to hope for the best that matchup goes his way. Next, Moss, Smith-Njigba, or Waddle? That's a very good question. Let's look at these. My gut went to Smith-Njigba, but I could be wrong there. My gut might change once I look at it a little bit more. So here we go. Smith. Njigba, 57 here. Go right down there. Or do you see it better when I do this? It's kind of smaller. Let's go like this. So Smith-Njigba here, 57. Waddle, 68. And Waddle, tough matchup. They might be behind. Quarterback play is an issue there. Smith-Njigba tied DK Metcalf in targets. They're right neck and neck on the season so far. But you got Moss, and he's in a matchup where he could score points. They got him at 45. Where's Smith-Njigba at? He's down here a little bit, 57. And you got Jackson Smith-Njigba against Miami. I love the matchup for the Bengals this week. I think Moss will get you a touchdown. I don't think Moss will get you 30. I think Moss is good for around 12 to 15 this week. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to get the targets and opportunity. That might lead to like a 12-pack. I think Zach Moss would probably be the safe spot here because I like that matchup against Washington. I really wanted to see how he was ranked versus Jackson Smith-Njigba and how Waddle was played in there. Waddle's a little bit lower. This is a dangerous matchup for him with that quarterback play. Moss is the safest bet, I believe. He's going to get the touches. Bengals should be up in this game. I would go Moss. Next, Carson, Steele, or Javonte Williams. I feel safe with Javonte Williams, and I'll show you right here. I think against Tampa Bay, it's right here. They're giving up fantasy points to running backs. 14.9 to Brian Robinson Jr., 13 points to Monty, 10.6 to Gibbs. They're above average giving fantasy points to running backs. This is Tampa Bay. I still got it right up here. That being said, I think I'm going to roll with Javonte Williams. He's getting touches. Is things working well right now? Let's see here. He's not scoring a ton of fantasy points, but I'm looking for touches and opportunity. Carson Steele, threat to score that touchdown. And you're looking for that touchdown. That could potentially happen with him, but he's also sharing with Samaje Perine. But overall opportunities, this ain't going to work. So, all right. Overall touches. I guess we're going back to Javonte over here. Just make it simple. Boom. 11 attempts. 5 targets against Pittsburgh. You're going to be throwing it on Tampa Bay. He's going to get opportunity in the passing game. He's also getting opportunity running the ball. He's also getting work running the ball in both matchups. Both of them aren't safe bets. Both of them aren't guys you really want being your top backs on your fantasy team. But due to the matchup here, I think I'd lean Javonte Williams. Shakira or Amari. I have similar feelings towards them both. I think Amari, you're going to get a better target share out of him, but I don't think that really matters. So really when I look at this is how do I want to make my gamble? How are they gambling on Shakir, right? They are 4 for 4. Has got him at wide receiver 30, or is that overall? Yeah, it's wide receiver 30. Amari is in a good matchup for him against the Giants. That's a game script that could break. And this is a neck-and-neck scenario with them, kind of like how I thought when I first looked at it. Because Amari Cooper is with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson will deliver the targets to Amari Cooper. It's always looking good for him with the target scenario and workload. It just has not been looking good for everything else when it comes to fantasy production because the targets have been bad. But we cannot get this thing to work. It just ain't working. So we'll get out of there. But Amari Cooper Over here, you're looking at a straight up 9 targets, 8 targets. That makes him safer, I guess. The workload's going to be there. When you're looking at Shakir. Shakir leads the Bills with 8 targets on the season. He's averaging 4 per game. Had a good game last week. And now we're going against Jacksonville. Jacksonville held Amari for 3 catches for 11 yards on 8 targets. That doesn't mean anything, but Amari Cooper's getting a good target share and air yards. If you're chasing straight workload, you're going Amari Cooper. If you're just chasing straight workload. If you're chasing the deep ball and you're flipping the coin, I can see where you can go Shakir. That being said, if Deshaun Watson wasn't so bad, Cooper would be the easy play. I would go Cooper. I would go Cooper if I was safe, and Shakir if I had any rumblings in my stomach. My head goes Cooper, gut goes Shakir. Go with your gut, but Cooper might be the safer option here. Next one, Fields or Purdy. Fields or Purdy, you got that Rams matchup, and you're also going up against a decimated wide receiver corpse of the Rams, which means they get up. You got Fields against the Chargers. I think Purdy is the safer bet. I know Fields is always going to be the upside play when you're looking at quarterback, and I believe they're going to have Purdy ahead of. I look at the rankings every year, every week, every year. You got Brock Purdy at 15. And they got Fields at 18. Purdy's going to be safer. Fields going to have that upside. So if they can get the game script to break, or if he breaks off a long run, that's what you're betting on those rushing yards. Purdy's going to be safer. He's in a matchup. Even though they're hurting at tight end and wide receiver here with Deebo out and Kittle being hurt and banged up, Purdy's going to be a little safer. I don't think it really matters, though, when you really look at the matchups, when you're really looking at what they're doing here. I got to scroll that up so you guys can see. It's about right there. All right, fundamentals says to go Purdy because it's safer. I think I would personally go Fields because I'd shoot for that upside and roll with it. That's what I would do personally. That's what I would do. Fundamentals would say go with Purdy. That makes sense with how they got it ranked. I would personally go with Fields and just shoot for the upside. Hope things go well. Also, where do you have Shaheed? He's been playing well, and I think you just have to ride the hot hand with him. So Shaheed, I have him the same as last year, and I wish that my thing was working so I could show you. Let me try one more time with this website that's not working. It's just not working. It's dead. It's just not working. Okay. Let's see here. Shaheed. Here we go. Let me show you, and it'll just paint the story here on Shaheed. He's one of those players that I love, actually, for fantasy. A lot of people don't like him, like this type, but they don't really think about Rashid Shaheed. There he is. I suck at spelling his name and saying it too. But here's 2023 and 2024. So if you just see these random spike weeks here, like 18.4, 15.5, 24.3, 18.3, 21. Then you're looking at weeks 1 and 2. They're both wide receiver 2 weeks. Right here, 16.6, 16.3, and 20.9. You're going to have games where it's like this, 10.3, 6, 6.3, 4.8. You also had the Cardinals game, and you also had the big games for the Saints against Carolina. That's why I read that wrong. Cardinal, if you put Carolina and Dallas together, that will screw you up. But you got the Carolina blowout. You got the Dallas blow up in there too. I think he's a guy that you put in your flex. He's a guy you put in your wide receiver spot when you want to gamble for that upside. And you pray that he hits this, because there's not many guys sitting on your waiver wire that can do this. But there's guys that can score you like a 10.3 to 12, usually sitting on the waiver wire. That's good to go, but they can also hit you on that downside. It's just this upside. And how good he is at it, it's like 1 out of like 5 games, 4 games. So I love playing with those guys, and when I'm hurting, I put them into my lineup, and I just pray that I get those 20-spot games. And I also recognize the downside to that. I recognize there's that downside there, but those upside weeks, if you're hurting, you're looking at the waiver wire wide receivers. If he hits you down here on these low-end games, 6.6, 7.4, 7.2, those wide receivers that you pick up off waivers and you feel kind of good, they're only scoring around here in this range, like 10, 11 points, which isn't far off from his bust weeks. So his upside games are nice. Those downside games will hurt you sometimes, but those upside games are nice to have, especially like if you're decimated at wide receiver, or you got something going on at flex, or your opponent did well in the Thursday night game, you got to put somebody in. I like that about him. He'll probably have some down games because that's just part of just his game. He's a deep ball guy. He gets air yards. Let's see if this will work on the air yards. Show that for you on the air yards here. Rushing, passing, where's that at? Air yards. Receiving air yards. This site's really just not working too well. I guess I'm lucky to get what I got from this. But he's just good for a good average depth of target. When he brings in the deep ball, it's solid. You'll get those spike weeks out of him. That's what I like about him. Mudflat Minshew. Mudflat Minshew is a good name. Like Mudflat Minshew. I know that's not. Or Deshaun Watson. You got Minshew against Carolina. What we got here? We got the Browns against the Raiders. 39.5 over under. No, we don't have the Browns. It's next week. Browns versus the Giants, 38 over under. That could be a weird game. That could be a very weird game. And you got Minshew against Carolina, which, let's see, the Raiders. It's Carolina with a 40 over under. And I believe when I look at the ranks here for 4 for 4, it's going to be just a coin flip scenario. They got Minshew at 21. And they got Watson next. Like I said, it was going to be a coin flip scenario with them. So right up here, I got to scroll it up because my picture and head's in the way. There is Minshew at 21. And you got Deshaun Watson at 19. It's a coin flip. I can make a case either way. If Carolina does well, Minshew's going to do okay. I think I'd roll Watt. No, wait. You got Brock Bowers and company here doing well. Truly is a coin flip between the two. Between which one would I pick? I would pick. I think I'd roll Watson. I'm not confident with it. If you like Minshew, go do it. I think I'd roll Watson due to the Giants game. I think I'd roll Watson, but it's very, very tight. I dropped Chuba Hubbard for Mike Gesicki because Hunter Henry got me 2 points, and I can't afford that. Did I make the right move? Mike Gesicki should be in a good matchup this week against Washington. That's a good one. I think Gesicki's going to be running a lot of routes and getting opportunities and target share. And I think tight end's a very fickle position where week to week, game to game, it's just going to be up and down. And Chuba Hubbard's not going to win your league. He's not. So just cutting bait with a guy like that is fine. Like we already saw him with a lot of volume last year. It was good. We loved it for fantasy because it was free off the waiver wire. He's not going to win your league. Jonathan Brooks is going to come back. He's also sharing a lot of the touches with Miles Sanders. We saw that in week 1. Week 2 is more of Chuba Hubbard, which Chuba Hubbard might be in a good matchup this week, but also you can't really count on the Carolina Panthers. I think as long as you don't stay married to Mike Gesicki, and maybe if you look week to week at the matchups for tight end, Mike Gesicki's in a good matchup this week. Tight end's very fickle. If you go look at my video that I did on Brenton Strange, I even went even more in on tight end strategy. Look at when I talked about it was like middle or back end of the video where I talked about how like I don't like tight ends. They're fickle. They're hard to predict week to week. And you just look at the scoring results there and how I broke that down. Is just you look at the matchups and you just shoot for the upside. And when a tight end scores like 4 or 5 points, just realize they're only a few points away from being a tight end 1, being ranked in the top 10 at tight end still. Like you can be the tight end 25 and you're still 4 points away from being a top 10 tight end, sometimes top 5 in some weeks. A couple weeks this year it'll happen because every year it does. So just realize tight ends are just fickle, and that's just the nature of the position, and that's what it is, unless you got one of the top elite guys, and they'll have a couple bad weeks. But after that, you should just shoot for upside, just carry just one tight end, and just shoot and gamble at week to week, because even if you miss, you're only going to be a few points off from being a top 10 tight end, and that's just the position. That's just how that works. And then what you wrote here, Hunter Henry matchups are horrible. Don't want to deal with that. Jets defense, Bills division. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't think you did that horrible at all. Daniels, I think that was related. Here we go. Jane Daniels or Goff? I think Goff's safer. I think Daniels got more upside due to rushing ability. I think in my head I would always be doing Goff, but I'd love having both of them and playing around with them. Let's see, we're almost ready to start our game, so I'm going to run through these a little quicker. Ford, Coleman, Steele, Whittington, pick 2. Ford and Steele if I had to pick 2, and then if I had to shoot for a little more upside, Coleman mixed in with one of those 2 running backs. Kirk or McConkey, I'm going with McConkey. The Steelers aren't good against the flex. McConkey is getting targets and target share. I think this is going to be his week if he has a week. 12-man full PPR. Murray is my quarterback. CD Lamb, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith. Who do I sit? Need upside. Who do I sit? You need upside. If this straight up upside play, CD Lamb, Marvin Harrison Jr. So you're trying to connect with the stack of Murray and Harrison, which makes sense. If you're going straight up upside, then I'd have that stack in there. And now it's just Devonta. Whoa, Lamb's got the Ravens. Lamb's always upside, though, due to the target share and opportunity, even if he's coming in banged up. So it's Rashee Rice versus Devonta Smith. That's kind of a coin flip scenario because Devonta Smith's in a good matchup. I think Rice is a little safer. And if I'm saying the word safe, that means you probably want to lead Devonta Smith. He's a little bit more risky. He's more risk of not hitting, but he's also in a matchup that could be very high scoring. So both of them are good bets to go off, which is great, but you're just trying to find the right bet. Usually the riskier option is the upside option, and I believe that's Devonta Smith. So that's probably what I'd roll with if I'm looking for pure upside. So I chase the dangerous part there. All right, Akers over Steele. Javonte definitely getting touches. Akers, Javonte, and Ferguson for the 3 there. Incognito. That's what I'd go. And I'd throw in, if I'm not worried about it, Akers, Javonte, McLaurin. If I'm shooting for more upside, I think Ferguson's a little bit safer due to the touches and targets. Just pretty much guaranteed if you're out there as tight end for the Cowboys. McLaurin hasn't been hitting, but it could happen. Dak or Baker. I think it's kind of a coin flip between the 2. I think I'd roll with Baker here. I'm rolling through these a little quicker since we're almost closer to the games. Mike Evans, Jack Smith-Njigba, or JMO PPR. Pick one. JMO if I'm shooting for pure upside this week. If not, I think I'd roll Jackson Smith-Njigba to be a little safer. Next one, Adunze, Waddle, Dowdle, Watson, Dubs. I don't know which Watson. I think I'd play it safe with Waddle. If I want to shoot for upside, I'd go Adunze. Next is Raiders D versus Panthers or Bucks D versus Broncos. Both at home. Those are great situations for those defense because they're dealing with weird quarterback scenarios. I know you can throw it a little bit on the Buccaneers. I think the Raiders will have a slower game script, but it is against Andy Dalton. He has more experience running an offense at the NFL level. I'll go with the Bucs defense on that one. Next, 12-man full PPR. Kyler Murray is my quarterback. CeeDee Lamb. Okay, I did that one already. Hold up. There's this one. Full PPR. Pick one. Montgomery, Ford, Moss. I think Moss is in a great situation. If I had to rank him, it'd be Moss, Montgomery, Ford. Who would start, Steele or Juwan Jennings as flex? It's a great situation there. That's not I'd flip a coin. I think I'd roll Steele and hope for the touchdown. PPR. I'd hope for the touchdown with Steele. Jennings is safer. Actually. I'd do Jennings actually to be safe, but if I was gambling a little bit more, I'm more of a gambler, so I'd have to always throw that out there. I'd go Steele. Flex, Ford or Calvin Ridley. I'd go Calvin Ridley. He's good for a 20% target share, and he gets the targets deep downfield. That's what I'd roll. Jerome Ford's a little bit safer due to the touches and targets and opportunity with that, but when I'm looking at that, I believe he's also sharing the backfield with Devonta Foreman. Higgins or Shakir. It's a coin flip between those two. We covered that a little bit earlier. 4 for 4. When I looked at their rankings, they're pretty tight with that as well. I think I'm leaning with Higgins due to the matchup. I think it's a great matchup for the Bengals. He's healthy. They're going to roll him out there. He's probably good for a 17 to 20% target share. He's probably going to get good air yards on the game too. Good morning, Jacob. 2 questions. Dak or Jaden Daniels, Chuba or Demarcus Robinson. I think Dak and Jaden Daniels is going to be a coin flip. I think if you're shooting for upside, I'd go Jaden Daniels due to the rushing production. I think Dak's not in that great of a situation against the Ravens, but I think he can score all right. I think he's a lot safer. Chuba or Demarcus Robinson. I think Chuba's in for a decent matchup here against the Raiders. The Raiders are allowing fantasy points to running backs, which could allow points to go to Chuba. He should be getting workload and opportunity. So I think I'd go Chuba since Demarcus Robinson's in an off matchup here. Neighbors or Higgins, people are kind of worried about the Browns D and Jones effing it up. That makes sense. I mean, go with your gut on that one because it is kind of a coin flip situation there. I think if it's personally me, I don't think I could ever bench Malik Neighbors for like the next 5 to 10 years. So I probably would be starting Neighbors, but if your gut is saying that, I think you're okay to go with your gut on that one. You always go with your gut with those kind of scenarios. Hey, thank you for watching. Thank you guys all for watching. I do this for you guys, and I love doing it for you guys. I always have fun doing this. It's always a great time, and I'm always just studying and sharing, really. And just study and share and allow you guys to make your decisions and help you with your decisions. That's really the main goal. Usually, even when it says you need X player, it's usually not just a straight take. I tell you why you don't need them, why you do need them, and just give you the information and then allow you guys to make your decisions to help you guys out the most because that you guys are smart. I don't have to be one of those guys that just have to tell you what to do. I believe I've got to just show you some of the processes of what to do on some things and show you how players are trending. And all in all, when you get these games start playing, it's all coin flips. Anything can happen. So why not just chase the trends, chase the things that could happen and see what happens in the game. Goff or Richardson and Neighbors or Cook. I'd go Neighbors over Cook. Goff or Richardson. Goff is safer, but if it was my lineup, I'd probably put in Richardson, chase that rushing upside. That's how I would roll with that. Dell or London. I think I'd go with Dell. I think I'd roll with Dell. Thank you, Scott Drummond. I'm going to roll with Neighbors. Good luck today. Thank you for the super chat. That is amazing, guys. Thank you guys so much. I'm happy to be here for you guys. Deontay Johnson or Demarcus Robinson. I think both of them are in weird situations this week. 49ers and then Deontay Johnson is just going to always be in a weird situation. I think you're in a coin flip scenario here. Anything can happen. Demarcus Robinson is going to get deeper shots. He might get locked down a bit. He is going to get targets. Deontay Johnson's getting targets. I'm going to look up his targets in the last 3 games, and I got to look at it on Sleeper because my app's not doing well. He's 6-6, and he's going up against Vegas. I think if I'm playing it safe, I go Deontay Johnson and chase those 6 targets, even though he hasn't scored anything. But we also got a new quarterback situation. If I'm playing it safe, I'm doing that. If I'm shooting more upside, and I got to shoot for more upside, Demarcus Robinson's getting those deeper targets. Well, he's got 8 out of 12 or more right now. I'd do that. But I think most of my lineups, I'd be going Deontay Johnson in this scenario. But if I'm going up against somebody who scored well on Thursday, or if I'm questioning a lot more of my lineup, I'm going Demarcus Robinson. But I feel a little bit safer considering he's getting 6 targets per game. He was the guy lighting it up in training camp. We got a quarterback change right now. We're in a game script with the Raiders here. That could go either way. We are on the road, though, but we got Andy Dalton, who's kind of like a check down machine, but will push some air yards here and there, but he is at the older stage of his career. I think a guy like Deontay Johnson kind of pairs well with a guy like Andy Dalton because he creates separation in the short to intermediate. I think Deontay Johnson would be the safer bet between the two unless you want to go for more of that upside. All right, you guys got any more questions? Because games are about to fire up. We might as well just go start watching them. I'll have more videos out tonight. Here's go. Out of these 3, hold up. Out of these 3, which one gets the nod? Neighbors, Charbonnet, Connor. That's a good 3. So you're getting running back touches from Connor and Charbonnet, both of them in great matchups. And then you also got Neighbors. You got a very good situation here. Neighbors is going to get a 20+% target share. Charbonnet is going to get work in a matchup where Seattle should be up, but that game script might be lower. Connor's in a matchup where the game's going to be moving, but Charbonnet could be in a matchup where they're ahead and pounding it out. So it is a coin flip between all 3 due to that. If you're looking for the guy to score the most points, if you're looking for the safest bet, Connor's in a good matchup where the ball's going to be moving a little bit more. There's more of a guarantee for that to happen. You know he's going to get the touches. And you know you can't key on Connor because you got Kyler Murray. You also got Marvin Harrison Jr. up top and those other wide receivers. Connor is the safer bet. If I'm shooting for more pure upside, I go Malik Neighbors due to that. I think there's a case where Charbonnet outscores all the other 2 due to Seattle getting ahead of Miami. But if Miami can slow things down, keep the ball moving, then that may not be the case. So there's gambles outside of his control. Connor's in a matchup where the ball's going to be moving. I think I'd roll Connor, my safe play, Neighbors, my upside play. And I look at it that way, just in case how your team's forecast. Projected to win, so I'll keep up with Deontay. Hey, thank you, man, for watching. Thank you for the questions, too. All right, guys, I think I'm going to roll out right now. Good luck this week. We're going to watch some games, have some fun. See you guys next time. I'll have some more videos out tonight. Thank you, too, James. I'll see you guys next time.